Hey y'all, it's Siobhan Muir. Welcome back to Cooking with Siobhan. No laughing. So, today we are still doing some budget-friendly and easy-peasy meals. It makes it really easy to make these meals, especially on a busy day like when school starts back in session and everybody's going in 10 different directions at once and you still are desperately hungry. So this is a really simple meal that Mr. SM's family came up with, and turned out to be really good no matter what sausages you use. Originally it started off as, well, it's called PBS, which is pasta, broccoli, and sausage. Really difficult. I bet you can't guess the ingredients. So what you have is pasta of any kind. Often we use bow tie, but you can use penne, you can use rigatoni,
You want to use a pasta that the sauce can collect in. So spaghetti is okay, but not the best. And most pastas, you're looking at, from a budgetary standpoint, I think what the Greek value is like 80 some cents. The Barilla is about $1. So think about $1 for pasta.
Yeah, and so, but of course, we're doing it gluten-free. So this is the Barilla gluten-free pasta. We're using they're more than elbows. They're actually ribbed elbows, but we're going to use this, and so it's going to take a little different preparation. But basically, make a box of pasta. That's the instructions. Really hard.
And for the cost, how much was this in comparison to like the regular pasta, which is about $1?
This is $1.72.
So it's about twice the price. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not bad for gluten-free.
No, it's not. And this is 12 ounces of pasta.
Which is about what you get for the other one.
Right.
So, all right, I'm going to give this to Muriel number 1 so she can start cooking that. All right.
Since she does most of the pasta cooking, because she's gluten-free, she knows how to do it. The instructions usually say, oh, cook it for 7 minutes, and she just goes, 7 minutes, right, plus another 7.
Or 8.
Plus another 8.
Right.
All right, and then you have, we use turkey sausage, but you can use any kielbasa, any, regular pork or beef sausage, it doesn't matter. But if you want something of this style of the small links.
Yeah, and that's what, about $2 to $3 for the link.
$3.48. This one is.
So
the Butterball is $3.48. The Hillshire Farms is $3.60, I think.
Okay, so we're now up to roughly $4 for the meal.
Yep.
And then the last major item
is a large head of broccoli. And that, I don't even know. Let's see, the crowns I think are,
let's say about $2 for broccoli.
yeah, $2 per pound for the crowns.
Yeah, so you want to have a good-sized head of broccoli because, frankly, as Siobhan said, this is the simplest meal. It is pasta, broccoli, sausage. Now, one thing that will go on at the end, and the thing is, there's almost no spicing to this. The only spicing will come out of the cheese. The cheese is at the end. Well, yeah.
The only spices will be in the sausage already, but then you add the flavor with the cheese and it brings them out.
Correct. And when it comes to cheese, any cheese works. If you have one of those little bottles of Parmesan cheese that, the really fine graded sprinkles, use it. If you have a hard cheese, use that. If you have a soft cheese like a mozzarella, go ahead and use that. I prefer using a hard cheese because it has a little more salt to it, so it really helps the flavor pop. But that's whatever's available. And cheese out of this entire dish is probably the most expensive part because depending on the cheese you're looking at, a block of cheese could cost you $6 to $8 or $10 to $15 or so forth. So pick what you have. The cheese that we prefer, or that I prefer using on it, is a Monchego. It's a sheep cheese. So,
and this block, you won't use the whole block. You won't even use close to the whole block. But this one is $12 by itself. But you would only use you'd only use a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So you're looking at maybe $1 or $2 of cheese.
Maybe that. I
Yeah.
mean, you could be even down to like less than $1. I mean, I'm gonna take off the end here, and this block of cheese probably lasts us 4 months.
Yeah. We don't,
So-
because you don't need a lot. It's like Parmesan. It's more like one of the things you flavor with,
It's a
rather
garnish.
than use it to make toasted cheese sandwiches.
So I'm gonna put these in the fridge, and then I'm gonna get started on making the meal.
So the neat thing about this is it's a really good one that if you're like, well, shoot, what do we have? So we have ingredients. We have some sausage, we have some broccoli and some pasta. Hey, we got a meal. So it's one of those things where you can do it at the last minute when nobody's planned on anything. Basically, it's prepping the vegetables, and you want to get the vegetables to be about bite size because you are eating this on a fork with all things together, like the pasta, the broccoli, and the sausage all together in one bite. You don't really want to, be stuffing your cheeks like a squirrel. Okay, you try to keep people from stuffing their cheeks like a squirrel, but the idea is to have them relatively small, so that they're easy to eat. They're bite sized. They're easy to eat. And we do use the stems because they're full of nutrients and they cook down just like the florets. So it's good. Do peel the leaves off of the broccoli though, because the leaves don't cook up nicely.
And of the entire broccoli, I end up using everything except for the base of the stem, and I even will trim off some of the sides just to make sure I get all the last of the leaves off and so forth. So once this is done, then I cut up the meat, and by then the pasta should be done.
Yep. And you want to make sure that you use as much broccoli as possible because you really want it to balance out the other ingredients.
And I cut up the stem into slightly smaller bite-sized pieces because the stem cooks. It's a little tougher, so it will just stay harder to. Darn it! It's on the floor. Oh well. So, but that's it. Broccoli is done. And then the next part is the sausage. So, the story behind this dish. My mom came up with this as a means to help my sister transition from being a vegan. Nothing wrong with eating vegan and whatnot. My sister started to eat vegan, but she couldn't get enough protein. And this was back, probably 30 years ago, or a good 20, 25 years ago. And my folks, being Eastern Europeans, didn't know a lot. You can go ahead and put that in there.
It was plastic.
Oh, is it plastic?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there was no plastic.
Okay, I usually have the glass. Or glass. The ice. What ended up happening is, my folks, being Eastern European, one of the things that they didn't keep up on is, and I at the time didn't know how to do a lot of good research. What ended up happening is my sister couldn't have enough protein in her diet, and so her body started to reject the food that she was eating, and so she went back to eating more vegetables, but incorporating meat protein back, or animal protein back in. And so as a transition, after struggling to come up with the vegan diet on her own, my sister quit about 9 months into it. And my mom, knowing that, well, after a while, it's hard for the body to regenerate some of the digestive proteins for meat, she came up with this simple dish of pasta for the carbs, a bit of the veggies, and then a link of sausage. And that's the story behind how this came up as a family tradition in my house. So,
The only difference that we made when we got married was we started using turkey sausage instead of the regular pork or beef sausage because I was having a tough time digesting beef with all the chemicals they feed the cattle, and it gets into the milk and things like that. I couldn't process the beef, so we started going to the turkey sausage, and now we just don't like the taste of it without the turkey sausage.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up starting with Polish kielbasa. And any brand of the Hillshire Farms, except for like the spicy hot and all that stuff, and just for the flavor. And when I cut the sausage, I try and cut it about 1/4 inch thick because it, like the broccoli, it helps balance out the meal. So, and it helps the way it cooks. So once this is done, the hard part happens, cooking.
Yeah, it's so difficult.
Oh, this is a mind-bogglingly difficult.
If you don't know, that's his sarcastic voice.
And I'm not paying attention to the camera just because, my luck, I'll cut my finger off.
Please don't do that.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
So I'm going to focus on doing what I do best, is talk and look down.
Ah!
Caught it.
It's like the egg! It's like the egg! So where we all go, oh.
None of us were fast enough to catch it.
Yeah, we weren't fast enough to catch the egg.
This anymore.
All right, so 2 of the 3 ingredients.
Okay.
Broccoli and sausage. There's the pasta.
So
Pasta's working on it.
once the pasta is done, then the next phase will happen is you steam the broccoli. Siobhan is my taste tester, so usually it comes out to, depending on the broccoli, anywhere between 5 and 7 minutes of steaming time. So you want it to be just the right bite texture. And then...
And I like mine a little bit on the al dente side. I don't like it mush because when I was a kid, my grandmother used to cook broccoli so much that it was just kind of green mush in bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And that grossed me out. And I love broccoli. So yeah, I like mine a little al dente. Because the mush situation, no. It should hold its shape. If it doesn't hold its shape, it's probably not worth eating.
No, I agree. So with that, once the broccoli starts to steam, then we're going to actually saute of sorts the meat. The only other addition to this that I didn't include on the dish is you need some sort of oil, whether it's vegetable oil, canola, olive oil, avocado, doesn't matter. You need something to saute the meat in, and then we'll go from there once the pasta's done. So
yeah, we'll see you in the
we'll
pasta.
see you in a minute.
All right, so the pasta finished. It turns out, because we were using gluten-free pasta, we thought it would good for 15 minutes. It only needed about probably 13.
Yeah, 12 or 13, yeah.
Yeah, because it turned out actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I like the Barilla.
Yeah.
It didn't look like, when she was stirring it, it didn't look like, just this goopy stew. It actually looked like pasta in water.
Yeah.
So.
And we've tried a couple different gluten-free pastas, and I'll be honest, I think this one might be the best one that we've actually tried so far.
So far.
It's held up. All right, so pasta's done. So 1/3 of the cooking process is finished. So next up will be steaming the broccoli. I rinse off the broccoli in a steaming pan. You can use whatever kind of steamer you have, whether it's one of the little flour steamers or flour or a steaming basket or whatnot. So it's been rinsed off. I throw it on the stove. We turn that thing on high and we just let it go.
You want to do it on the small one?
Yes.
Okay.
I always do it on the small one because it gives me a chance to control it. So while this is going, we need the black pan down there. Sorry, my dear. So while the broccoli is going, I grab my saute pan or a deep dish one and use whatever oil you have. Olive oil, you because I'm still dealing with my pre-diabetes and diabetes, olive oil has a little better, you know, things for me to have in my diet, so I'm going to use olive oil. But in general, you don't need a whole lot. Wow, I mean, out of a bottle that's like, what, 10 bucks, 8 bucks, you're going to use maybe
You're going to use about a
15
tablespoon.
cents. Yeah, not much. So when the pan heats up, we're going to put the oil in, then we're going to actually start cooking the sausage. And you're going to try and do it simultaneously together. That way, when the sausage is done, the broccoli is finished, the pasta's already ready to go. The last phase, you're going to combine them all. So while we're waiting for the pan to heat up, that is all the cheese you need.
For the whole dish.
For the
Not
whole
even
dish.
just per person. That is all the cheese you need for the whole dish. And this is a really nice cheese. I actually prefer it to like Reggiano.
Parmesan Reggiano.
Yep, and Asiago. Those are two harder cheeses that they use for a lot of these Italian dishes. I prefer the Monchego. The Monchego is a Spanish sheep cheese, so it's not an Italian cheese, but I like it better. I liked it better since we started changing away from Parmesan. But this meal does fine with any cheese you choose to use, whether it's Parmesan, whether it's Asiago, hell, even mozzarella. But we tend to like this sheep cheese because it's tastier, it's tangier, but it melts really beautifully.
So all you do is start cooking the sausage so that you know when it's done, when it creates sort of like little cups. Now, if you wish, you can season it, but you don't have to. I mean, this dish by itself with these 4 ingredients will taste amazing. And my mom never seasoned it. I, on the other hand, have added 2 minor additions if I want to from time to time. I will grate some minced garlic on it. And for me, my favorite go-to for just a little bit of fun, I throw a little bit of sesame seed. This is my addition. This is not necessary.
He adds it because it's good for his heart. Sesame seeds are great for your heart.
So,
But if you're allergic.
right. So, but like I said, the garlic, the sesame seeds, none of this is required. And then you just stir occasionally just to make sure that the meat starts to cook and it's going to brown. So I mean, with the exception of the sesame seeds and the garlic, we're still at roughly, let's see, that was, let's say about $2. That was about $1 to $2. This is about $3. So we're at about $7 for the meal. And it'll feed a family of 4 plus whatever cheese you have. So say $1 for cheese, you're looking at an $8 dish for a family of 4. The gluten-free upped it by $1. You can't go wrong with that. And I cook everything on medium. So my stove has a 1 to 9 scale. I cook everything pretty much on a 5 because at least that way I can control it. One of the things I don't do, or very rarely, is I never walk away when I cook. I always stand over the stove, even if it's right now, even here in Cheyenne, it's, you know, we had a high of almost 95 today. It sucks to stand over a kitchen. Okay, this one might not be a great, super hot summer day meal, but I always stand over. That way I can keep an eye on it. And when I don't, it's usually when I start burning things. like making brats today for lunch. But as you can see, the meat is starting to turn into a little cup. It's starting to brown. So, just trying to time it with the broccoli being done. Can I grab you a fork, my dear?
Yeah. Oh,
And
it's still pretty.
yeah, it looks like it. Siobhan is my official broccoli taster.
Yeah, I'm still crunchy.
Okay, well that's good. It's good to know that it's still crunchy.
It's still crunchy.
That way you don't hit your head on the door and then get mad at me. So,
Yeah,
but
a little bit raw.
Yep. And every broccoli cooks differently. I've never had a consistent cooking time frame with broccoli. So I'm gonna grab that handle, starting to get a little warm. Now, if you want to use frozen broccoli, you can. In that case, it really will not take long to steam. You're looking at maybe 2 to 4 minutes. That's it. The hard part about steaming frozen broccoli is the excess water that the broccoli has can make the broccoli get mushy quickly. So if you go frozen, definitely taste it every minute or so until it hits that right texture for you. And what I would recommend is when you're tasting broccoli, stir it around, because the broccoli on the bottom will steam a little bit faster than the broccoli on the top. Because you don't want to take one right off the top, because it might still be truly solidly raw, and you don't want to take one from the bottom because it could be, well, soft or too soft. You want to stir it up, keep it going, and then taste from there. But we can start seeing this turn into cups. It's starting to brown a bit. You know, when the sausage, one of the things I noticed for the sausage is if you start seeing it brown and stick to the bottom of the pan, you're getting it pretty much cooked. Because at that point, it's starting to sweat a bit. And if it starts to stick a bit and you notice that it's still not fully cooked, and the pieces don't all have to brown. You need to basically just heat it thoroughly through. I will add a little bit of oil if need be to keep it from blackening. When I cut the sausage, I cut it when it's still about half frozen, because it allows me to cut pretty much a nice consistent thickness. But you don't have to. Now, cutting something frozen will definitely dull your knives really easily and very quickly. So, if you don't have a knife sharpener, then you don't want to cut it frozen. If you have a knife sharpener, definitely, cut it the way that you want to make it, where it will be, fairly consistent. And that's one that we have.
That's our knife sharpener. It's by Fiskars, so they know their blades.
Yes, they do. So, but now, the meat's pretty much done. We have the final taste test.
Don't burn my face.
Need some more? Give it another minute.
I bet you could turn it off and let it go at this point. It's pretty close to done, so you could let it just steam its own way while you wait for everything else. So I think it's pretty close.
Okay, well these are almost done.
Okay.
Well, pretty much done. So,
All right. So then,
if you want to give it another minute of steaming, let's set the timer for a minute, and then I can let this cook.
no, I think we're good. I think it's
Okay.
it's good.
So now comes the difficult task. broccoli. And then I put the broccoli in with the meat. I will put a little bit of oil in because it's amazing how quickly the broccoli will absorb any of the moisture and any of the oil in the bottom of the pan. I'll let it sit. One thing you can always do is when this is done, you can always throw it in the oven for a little bit to dry it out if you wish. I personally don't. I don't like it. But my mom used to do it that way. That's how she started it. So you get it in together, you start letting the broccoli sort of brown a little bit. And then last but not least, we throw the pasta in.
This is nice pasta.
I'm very impressed with this. And then I will need to add in some more oil.
Yeah. I think with the rice pasta, you're going to need that.
Yep. And let's get the last. Alrighty. That's good. Alright. Let's throw a bit of oil in there so it doesn't burn at the bottom of the pan. And then you toss it in the pan, folding it in.
Not bad. I would turn this off.
Yep, we can turn it off now. And then just in time for a thunderstorm. Yay!
My goodness.
All right, there we go. The meal has been prepped. We'll put it on a plate.
That's basically the entire meal. That's it. Notice how simple it is and really easy to do and really easy to put together. Now, is it a lot of standing over a hot stove? Yeah, because you're basically making pasta, you're cooking meat, and you're steaming broccoli. It's gonna be a warm. It's a great one in winter, but it's really, really easy.
The only thing that I think we did is we overcooked the pasta a little because it is breaking apart. But,
Yeah.
you know,
This is the first time we've used this particular pasta.
and normally if you use just regular old pasta, it won't do that, or it really wouldn't. So, there we go. Here it is.
Oh, it looks really good.
All done.
That's it.
That is it.
That is the extent of it, and boy, it smells good.
Yeah, so,
I'm really hungry.
yeah. What is it? About $7-8 for a meal that will easily feed a family of 4. Could even leave some leftovers. So if you're by yourself, you got a meal for at least a couple days. You know, 2-3 good servings.
Oh yeah, 2-3 good servings. If you
Well, if you eat
this
like
amount,
a horse.
if you eat like right, if you eat like a bodybuilder, you might be able to last, maybe 1 or 2 days. If you eat, like normal people, then you're looking at you could easily keep it for a week.
Yeah.
By yourself. If you're feeding teenagers, I got nothing. But that's it. That's a really simple, and it's pretty healthy too. You got carb, you have vegetable, and you have meat protein. So, yeah, and it's really good. My mouth is watering. I'm sitting here going, oh, it smells so good.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for joining us.
Yep.
I hope you can use this recipe and make it really easily. Do please subscribe to the channel and like the video so that the algorithms work for us. Also ring the bell so that you know when there's a new video coming out. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Happy making, happy baking, happy eating, and happy reading. Bye.
Bye, everyone.